as you guys have been engineering, be it civil, electrical, chemical, I'm trying to see the ones I remember. We are also in the finance world, engineering as well. Happy to be here once again, and I'll be taking you through some basic investment strategies that you will need around this time that the economy and economic conditions in Ghana and around the globe are hitting middle income earners. We want to work now, save or invest, and retire peacefully. So we'll be taking you through some strategies where we believe we'll start successfully and build wealth beyond what we do as professionals. Okay. So most of the times, we get lots of money whilst we are working. The active income, those who are employees of companies, those who are entrepreneurs, we make money, but sometimes we are not able to use it to create assets that are sustainable, assets that can carry us through time. And this has been a lot of issue, or is a problem that professionals find. As I said in the beginning, we are going to use our active income so that we can get long-lasting assets that will ensure that we will live life to its fullest. Aside the active income that we earn, even in high schools, we have talked about how when we earn money, we should spend less than how we are earning and save and invest the rest. We also get irregular monies. There are times that we get bonuses from our companies. There are times that we get project-based fees, right? We get monies when we are winning lots of contracts, where there are a lot of opportunities. But how we manage it is quite crucial. Are we able to have monies that we put in a reserve, that we will set aside for, say, 6 months, that can take care of our expenses if the unexpected happens? What are we going to use irregular income for? Monies that just came, monies that is not part of our active income, monies that we are not earning every month, monies that are not regular. What can we do with such monies? How can you build cash reserves with that monies? There are a lot of investment opportunities that come up. I'm going to talk about this, as some of you may be aware, especially with the middle class that invested, and through the domestic debt exchange, some investments, a fraction of it was wiped off. So there are still challenges talking to professionals about investing, especially in financial assets. In Ghana now, most people use irregular income or even part of their active income into properties. Some can go into farming and what have you. We should have in the back of our mind, and in all of these, there are risks. So, hello, am I audible? Oh, okay, sorry. Maybe Abel, if you can mute, or so that I can flow. Hello. Okay.
Yes,
can I please continue?
Yes, please. Yes,
okay.
Please. You may continue. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah. So what are you going to do with a fraction of our active income, right? After expenses monthly, in addition to the irregular income that we get, where are the places that we can invest them? Where can we invest with confidence? And we've looked at the financial assets or the financial markets. We'll talk about the financial markets and things or assets that you can invest in aside properties, because now properties seem to be in vogue and so many people are going into properties either for residential or for commercial. So as you receive these irregular incomes, at a point, try and ask yourself, reflect and say, can you have 6 months money that would take care of your expenses? Have you been able to set aside an amount like that? If not, then there's a challenge. If all your monies that you are getting, both active and irregular, go into spending, then there's a problem for you in the future. We have to spend less from what we earn, save and invest the rest. Sorry. Okay. So the ideal thing on building cash reserves from your income, be it regular or the irregular ones, to have an emergency fund for your personal self. And that's the example that I gave. If it's about a business, can you have monies that can take you between 3 to 6 months in terms of your operational cost? Will you be able to have that? Do you have an account for day-to-day operations? How much are you saving in an emergency account? Do you have investments? Have you invested in financial assets? How are you doing it? The one with regular income, the best practice has been that once the money hits your accounts, you might spend it. Most people will do what we call a direct debit. So a direct debit from their account, so that when employers pay, a fraction of that money goes into a certain investment where you can order your bankers, your brokers to buy a financial asset on your behalf. This is one of these strategies that you can use in building cash reserves. It might be very, very difficult, right? Especially around this environment where things can be volatile and there could also be fluctuations in income that you get, and especially how you minimize cost. But if you really want to have a future devoid of debt, a future where you can enjoy life, then you have to start doing some of these things to build the needed cash. So for regular incomes, you can set aside a fraction that goes into certain financial investments. Other investments come with this risk. And if we have time, we'll go into other investments in subsequent meetings. But today, we'll concentrate more on properties and investing in financial assets. A lot of people are building rental properties for residential purposes. People are also building for commercial purposes. With rental, even though we can say that the cost levels when we want to enter is quite low, for most people it might be high, but it's quite easy going into financing where you let people come and reside in those houses. You can also build and sell, and that has been most beneficial or most profitable than the ones that are into rentals. If you look at the literature and if you talk to industry players, that one is fine. But we are looking at the frequency. How many times do you get those properties bought? What happens if none is being bought within 6 months? What will happen to you? Okay. Commercial properties, you get people coming in for it. The returns are higher. The people who live in for longer leases. You get monies. They all come with their own risk. Risk in terms of managing the properties. So a strategy is that whatever you have in investing, even if you go into properties, we should be looking at 40% of your total investment portfolio. 40%. Because you need to diversify. And diversification is key, it's basic. We've been doing it. We always tell people we shouldn't put our eggs in one basket. So we diversify. Even with financial assets that we'll be talking about, we diversify. So a little bit of this, a little bit of residential, commercial properties, a little bit of land, a little bit of financial assets. Those who want to go into farming can go into farming. So that there can be high ends and low ends at some periods. As I said, you can build for rent, you can build to sell, and it might take a longer time before you get people to buy or to rent them. So when you diversify your portfolio, you get multiple streams of income. So when one is down, you can't depend on the other investments that you have, so that you can stay afloat, you can take care of yourself, your health, you can take vacations, so that life will be better here for us on earth. Oh, sorry, I think there's a question that the presentation should be in slide mode. Sorry. Okay, so that you can see clearly. Sorry about that. Okay. It's in slide mode now, I guess. Yeah. So that is about properties. We can have, again, a webinar where we will dive into properties and the returns that can come, and the numbers can be made clearly for anyone who wants to go into it. Next is on financial assets. So in Ghana, most people that are interested in investment with an objective of making a passive income. So you've given your money, you've invested in a financial asset, you want returns whilst you are sleeping, right? The income is passing, so passive income. They can go onto the money market, that is where short-term instruments are traded. Most Ghanaians, most professionals are interested in treasury bills. Most Ghanaians were interested, let me put it that way, in bonds, government of Ghana bonds. That now new ones have not been issued. We still have the old ones that were exchanged. And now stocks. The stock market. Shares of companies are being traded on the Ghana Stock Exchange every day. Again here, to better appreciate and enjoy the returns that come with financial assets, depending on the objective, you also need to diversify. So a little bit of money can go into money market where you buy T-bills. Now on the average for 3 months, the return is about 10%, which is lower than inflation rate. So when you are investing and your return on investment is lower than the inflation rate that has been set by the statistical service, then there's a problem. That means you cannot live afloat. your return on investment should be more than the inflation rate. But how did we get here? Only yesterday, a year or two ago, TB rates for the benchmark of 91-day was almost 30% and more. But market conditions, right, can change within a small time, and that's the more reason that you have to diversify. So now the money market is not lucrative as before. The bond market is not lucrative unless you are one who is held on to the old bonds and that decided not to exchange, because the old bonds, the coupons were averaging 19–20% return. And because of the exchange and people were good to Mother Ghana, it came to about 9% with a lot of maturity periods being extended. Now the stock market is lucrative now. And that's why so many people don't know. That is where you can own a fraction of a company. So you might be an employee of an engineering firm. For now, you don't have your own company. But you want to own a fraction of a company that has been listed on the stock exchange. You can get shares to buy. And if you look at the data from the GSC, which is the Ghana Stock Exchange, in the year 2023, the return averagely was about 25%. Last year, it moved to about 56%. So that is on the average. Because even if you get there and we decide on companies to buy their shares, we will advise with the help of our brokers that we work with to decide which of the companies that we should invest in now. So the stock market gives a lot of opportunities and a lot of returns that so many professionals do not know. Others also invest in index funds, and in Ghana, index funds like Data Bank Investment, we have the Republic Equity Trust. They all track the stock exchange index and they get returns. Personally, I'm into shares of companies. Others are into exchange traded funds, which is the ETF that looks at a basket of stocks and they will track specific sectors or indices. So one, know the objective of investing. If it's for a longer period, if you're investing because you want to go on retirement and enjoy your retirement, then shares could be good for you. Because when you invest in shares, we have companies that pay dividends, and you also get capital gains if the share price increases. For example, let's do this simple calculation. Mobile telephone company, MTN, listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange in the year 2018. A share was being traded at 75 pesos. So assuming you had an irregular income, you had a bonus, or you had some monies that you never had any need for in the interim. Let's say you had 1 million cedis in 2018 and you wanted to invest in MTN shares at 75 pesos. That would have given you over 1.3 million shares. Just yesterday, MTN shares are being traded at 3.95 cedis. So from 0.75 to 3.95. If you had that money and you bought MTN shares or you had 1 million and you bought MTN shares in 2018, now you'll be worth almost, or you'll be worth around 5.3 million cedis within 7 years, from 1 million to 5.3 million cedis, without any risk, without any work, without any sweat. At least people will say hidden charges, as in the brokers finding buyers to buy your shares, would take, and then the stock exchange will also take, amounting to about 2.5%. But if you are to forego those charges, from 1 million in 2018, you'll be worth about 5.3 million in the year 2025. So someone wanting, or with the sorry, with the objective of retiring and had bought shares will be worth this. And if MTN is to perform well, and they are making profits, the share price will go up, up, and up. Because from 0.75, it's been a bit volatile, right? It might not be all rosy, but today, as we are talking in the year of 2025, people that bought in the year 2018 are better off, right? The literature has taught us that we are not used to that. When you go to the stock market now, most of the people that are investing there are foreigners. But there's a need for local people to also know the potential, the opportunities that are there so that we can also benefit. So your objective might be short term. Then you can go on to the money market. Remember, the return there is now about 10%. So market conditions affect most sectors of the economy. But what is your risk levels? Are you someone who can take low risk, or your risk levels can be moderate, or you're an aggressive person? If it's low risk, then you can stay on the money market and be enjoying the returns that come with T-bills. But normally my advice is that, why don't you diversify? So you have a fraction of the money, irregular monies that you get, bonuses that you get. This year, I'm going to buy T-bills. I am doing 364 days. I'm doing 182 days. I'm doing 91 days. You instruct your bankers, when it matures, just roll over. Then you can forget about it for a period. If government of Ghana, well, with indications that we are picking, is to issue bonds, you advise your bankers that, oh, you have some money, you want to buy government of Ghana bonds. Either as an individual bondholder or as part of a collective investment schemes. And that's why when we're having DDEP, there were a lot of challenges, because most people that invested through these collective investment schemes thought they were doing it as individuals. But to trade on the stock market, you need a separate account from the centralized securities depository that will appropriate the returns that are due you anytime that there is a payout, anytime that an investment matures. So the monies that you have, again, regular ones where you are taking a fraction, because the regular ones, the monthly salary, you are paying bills and all of that, school fees. So a fraction can go into financial assets, as I explained, for want of time. People might also want to start property. It's fine, with its own risks that come with them. Or nowadays, invest their energies as engineers into designs and patterns where they can monetize their intellectual property. They can monetize their intellectual property. They can spend their time with books and publications where they can sell the rights, and as people use it, they can also get returns. People can come up with softwares and applications So the more people use, they get returns from that intellectual property. So here, with something like that, the goal is to make sure that you become financially stable throughout your life so that you don't lack much, as Christians, Muslims, traditionalists believe. You want to have a stable life. If it's not too soft, it should be stable. Others are into online courses, so they come up with courses for people to subscribe, for people to buy, then they can get returns from them. These are the ones coming in from your expertise, what you've learned in school, the value that you've added. They will give you these returns. When they bring the returns, or when you get the returns, what are you going to do to generate more returns? So I've authored a book. It's being sold almost everywhere. When I get that money, what should I do? Should I invest them in financial assets? Should you invest them in property? Should you go into farming? That is what we are talking about. The goal is when you get all these monies, diversify. Don't put your eggs in one basket. Get into stocks. Buy shares of companies. Companies will be paying you dividends. And I forgot. So the dividends are the returns that you get from companies or from shares that you've bought. So every year, most of these companies listed on the stock exchange, about 34 to 36, last year they were 34, pay dividends, right? So a fraction of the profit is shared to shareholders. So every year you'll be getting something. Then if the share price appreciates, then you can get what we call the capital gains. So as professionals, we get one way or the other, loss of money, income from our salary, where we are working. Then the irregular ones that are coming from bonuses, from project fees, right, from certain drawings that you do for clients. We need to invest these monies to bring us the needed return. When they are with you, you will definitely spend them. Let's invest them. And one way of investing, especially for some of us who do not have time, right, is to invest in financial assets. You've listened to people, big business people, who do have time that invested in other areas and the returns were not promising. With financial assets, the risks are there, but they are very, very minimal. And the returns are quite interesting. And as I said, as a Ghanaian, and we've been researching, we've been reading around, we've seen that most professionals are just into T-bills. So now that the returns are quite low, what are they going to do with their monies? The stock price or the stock market gives you opportunities that will bring you needed returns. So in my submission, I talked about you looking at the potential, your returns, and something like inflation. So now if you are investing in T-bills, you are losing out because inflation rate is more than the return that you are going to get from T-bills. So that is a negative return. It's quite important to know that. We are in Ghana. The functional currency is the cedi. There could be fluctuations. Colleagues sometimes also want to invest in currencies. And it's a local person who loves Mother Ghana. Say, yeah, you can invest, buy dollar and hold, which is illegal, right? Per the central bank, because it's a foreign currency and you should liquidate it so that businesses that need it can have it. But it's ordinary people, right, investing in dollars. Now conditions have changed. The rates have come down. It's affecting a lot of people. But if you are investing, for example, in the stock market, that, unlike before, was not efficient, right? it was quite difficult even to sell shares. But now it is vibrant, education is going on, and a lot of people are taking advantage of investing in shares on the Ghana Stock Exchange. So let's know the returns on the investment that you want to do. Whatever industry that you want to invest in, we are here to support, for us to discuss, so that you know your returns. Then we can compare it with things like inflation on the market, right? Because these are forecasted figures that we can look into the future and see that no, it's worth investing in this sector of the economy or not. So let's ask ourselves, as I said, economic conditions can change. So what will happen to you now that TB rates have dropped from more than 30% to 10%? If interest rate is to double, if tenants are not coming, your rental property, what will you do? I have a student who is in rental apartments, and he said that, I'm coming to sack all of them. They are not paying. They are letting me go to rent control. What becomes of you? If that is the only thing that you have to gain or to earn something to support you so that you can live a good life on earth, what will happen to you? The thing is, when you diversify, you become okay and you become stable. And for most of us, the Lord will support us and we will retire. We want to enjoy our retirement, right? And we need to know the amount of money that we should have invested, so that when we go home and we don't wake up to our engineering firm that once employed us, we'll be able to take care of our desired lifestyle. How much money will I need or should I have invested so that it can give me an income whilst I'm home and I'm not working? That's a financial freedom number. And research has shown that it's normally you look at your annual expenses. If you can put a number to your annual expenses and you multiply by number 25, then that will be the amount of money that you should have set aside so that whenever you are not working, it can generate the needed income so that you can fund your lifestyle of going for holidays, to look at the crocodile, to the crocodile pond, where you go and talk to crocodiles. I'm a man who is more into domestication, to visit tourist sites in Ghana before we decide going out. So as I said, if we're able to track your annual expenses, so for example, if every month you will need 10,000, that means in a year you need 120,000. If you multiply it by 25, then you should have invested a capital of around 3 million, so that when you retire and you are not working again, you'll be able to enjoy that deserved lifestyle. If you have 3 million in shares, in MTN shares now, that pays, for example, dividend of about 24 pesos, you'll be able to fund your desired lifestyle. If you have shares in SIC, if you have shares in GCB, you'll be fine and your retirement will be okay. You will not beg to feed. Your mates will see you and they'll be happy seeing you. So what can we do in the next 5 years? Let's try and have an emergency fund. Have an account for your operations if you don't have already, right? An emergency one and the one for savings. Try and ask yourself how much you spend in a year and whether you'll be able to invest a certain amount so that when you go on retirement, you can enjoy. It all starts from today. It should have started from yesterday, but today is not late. By year 3, you can go into property, you can start going into stocks. But it depends on you, the individual. It's better you know yourself. You know how much money comes to you every month. You might not be having incomes that is irregular. Yours might be the monthly salary that comes to you. But it might be high that you can set a very good fraction to investments that will help you have a fulfilled lifestyle when you are not working anymore. So the takeaway from today's lecture, or today's engagement, is that we always need to protect our income. We need to manage it well. We need to spend less than we earn. We need to build reserves. You're building reserves for yourself. You're thinking about the amount of money that you need when you retire. You don't want to be a burden on your kids. You want to leave inheritance for your kids. Our parents didn't start like us. They gave us the best of everything. And we are supposed to also pass on a better life to the next generation. So as the money is coming now, let's find ways of investing for ourselves in the future and the next generation. Invest in markets, as in financial assets on the stock markets. Invest in properties, if you're a fan of it. If you can get land in the city or elsewhere that you can protect it and build, that's fine. So that you get passive income to support you now that you are working, and when you retire, you can also be getting monies to enjoy your retirement. Thank you very much for listening. As I said, the best time was yesterday to start investing. The next best time is now, not tomorrow. Let's make good use of the income that gets to us so that we can live a fulfilled life on planet Earth. Thank you very much for your time, and it's always a pleasure having all of you.
So we have some 2 programs that are coming up. We call this the Quarter of Mastery Training. Okay, so architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, or professionals in the AEC industry, we started another batch of training from this quarter, looking at what we call Quarter of Mastery, where we are actually equipping professionals with with world-class technology which you can use to make wealth. Do you get it? Because now, if you are practicing, and you can have technologies that can help you get shorter turnaround time, that will mean more money in your pocket, and you have enough to also invest in your retirement. So some of these technologies are in here. If you want to get a software for structural engineers, Prota is there. And I tell you, if you contact us, I can negotiate on your behalf and get you a flexible payment plan so that you can own the Prota software for life. You may be here, your kids may be probably in the university. We are from 1st September, we are going to have our vacation beam skills training for tertiary students. So if they are probably pursuing architecture, engineering, or the construction related courses, contact Carboy. The links are there in our chat. And copy some of the links and then fill for your kids. Let them equip themselves for the industry whilst they are in school, so that by the time they come out, they'll be ready for the industry.